The brain processes social exclusion through the same neural pathway it uses for physical pain. When a person is deliberately ignored, the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex fires, the identical region that lights up when skin burns or bones break. This creates an urgent, almost physical craving for reconnection and closure. Jealous people do not need to raise their voice, spread obvious lies, or confront directly. They only need to withhold something small and consistent. A glance that used to acknowledge presence now slides past. A greeting that once came automatically now arrives late or not at all. The target feels the shift before they can name it. Their nervous system registers the threat while their conscious mind still searches for evidence. The silent treatment from a jealous peer works because the brain treats uncertain social threats as more dangerous than certain ones. When someone openly attacks, the target can defend. But when the jealous person simply stops including, stops affirming, stops reacting, the target's mind fills the void with worst-case assumptions. Am I imagining this? Did I do something wrong? Why do they look through me? Each question pulls focus away from work, away from confidence, away from other relationships. The jealous person never has to explain anything. Their weapon is absence, and absence deployed strategically destroys more thoroughly than any direct insult ever could. Watch what happens inside a group when one member begins to outpace others. A promotion arrives, a skill improves, recognition from leadership appears. The jealous individuals do not celebrate. They also do not attack. Instead, they begin a quiet process called social blocking, the deliberate exclusion of the target from informal information networks. No meeting invitation arrives for the Tuesday lunch where real decisions get made. An email chain about a new project circulates without the target's name. Someone mentions, "Everyone already agreed," before the target even knew there was a discussion. The jealous person never says a negative word. They simply omit, and the human brain treats omission as invisible. No evidence exists, no proof can be shown. But the target slowly loses access to the very information needed to keep succeeding. This strategy exploits a specific feature of how status hierarchies function in groups. Status is not just about rank. Status is about perceived value to the group. When a jealous person blocks information flow to a target, they systematically remove the target's ability to demonstrate value. The target shows up to meetings slightly less prepared because the pre-meeting conversation happened without them. They miss opportunities because the deadline was mentioned in a group chat they were mysteriously left out of. Each small information gap creates a slightly weaker performance. The jealous person watches, says nothing, and collects the evidence of decline that their own exclusion manufactured. The most effective jealous people never target performance directly. They target reputation through a mechanism called ambiguous insinuation. This works by planting a question without answering it. In a meeting, after the target presents an idea, the jealous person says nothing critical. Instead, they ask a single question. Has that approach been tested before? The words seem neutral, but the tone, the timing, and the slight pause before the question create a cloud of doubt. Other group members now wonder, did the target skip a step? Is there a problem they are hiding? The jealous person never made an accusation. They simply asked, and the human mind, wired to detect threats, converts the question into suspicion automatically. Cognitive dissonance magnifies this effect. When someone hears an ambiguous insinuation about a person they previously trusted, the brain experiences discomfort from holding two conflicting beliefs. I trust this person, and something might be wrong with their work. To resolve the discomfort, the brain often adjusts the belief about the person rather than investigating the flimsy evidence. The jealous person knows this. They do not need proof. They only need to introduce the question. The target's own colleagues will resolve the dissonance by trusting less, engaging less, and defending the target less often, all without a single lie being told. Another quiet destruction method involves strategic praise in the wrong areas. Jealous people learn to compliment targets on traits that do not matter while remaining silent on traits that do. A target who just closed a major deal hears "nice suit" from the jealous coworker. A target who solved a critical problem hears "you must have worked late." The praise acknowledges existence while carefully avoiding the real achievement. Over time, the target's brain registers the pattern unconsciously. The absence of recognition for meaningful work creates a slow drip of invalidation. The target works harder, hoping for the genuine acknowledgement that never comes. The jealous person watches the overextension, waits for the inevitable mistake that comes from exhaustion, and then steps forward as the calm alternative. This connects to the psychological principle of attentional bias, the brain's tendency to prioritize certain stimuli over others based on emotional significance. When a jealous person consistently redirects attention away from the target's strengths and toward superficial details, they train the group's collective attention. Other members begin to notice the suit instead of the sales numbers. They comment on the long hours instead of the results. The target's actual value becomes background noise while their presentation becomes the focus. The jealous person never attacked the work. They simply changed what everyone looks at. The slow nature of this destruction makes it nearly impossible to stop. A sudden attack triggers defense systems. The target rallies allies, gathers evidence, and fights back. But when destruction arrives as 100 small omissions, a dozen tiny questions, and a pattern of redirected attention, there is no single moment to point to. The target feels something wrong, but cannot prove anything. Colleagues sense a shift, but cannot name it. Leadership notices declining results, but does not see the information blocks that caused them. The jealous person stands in plain sight, helpful and harmless, while the target slowly drowns in the absence of what they never knew was being withheld. Notice what happens during collaborative work. A jealous person assigned to a team with the target will quietly claim credit for joint work while appearing generous. They say "we" during the presentation, but later clarify to leadership, "I handled the difficult part." They ask the target for help on a task, then frame the assistance as their own teaching moment. The target, focused on doing good work, does not track the slow transfer of credit, but leadership does. Leadership sees the jealous person as capable and the target as supportive. The jealous person gains status while the target loses it, all through a process called credit association. The gradual attachment of successful outcomes to the person who claims them first and loudest. The brain rewards confidence more than accuracy. When two people present the same information, the one who speaks with certainty and speaks first receives more trust. Jealous people exploit this by rushing to report results before the target can. They send the email summary 10 minutes after the meeting ends. They mention the successful outcome in the hallway before the target reaches their desk. They establish the frame, the interpretation of events, before alternative frames can form. By the time the target tries to correct the record, the jealous person's version already sits in everyone's memory. Correction feels like complaint. Defense feels like insecurity. The target cannot win by arguing against a story that already exists. This leads to isolation, the final stage of quiet destruction. The jealous person has removed information, insinuated doubt, redirected attention, and claimed credit. The target now stands with fewer allies, less access, and a reputation that no longer matches reality. Leadership sees a once promising person who seems to have plateaued. Colleagues see someone who appears defensive or withdrawn. The target, exhausted from fighting invisible attacks, actually does perform worse. The jealous person predicted this. They created the conditions, waited for the natural result, and now stand ready to replace the target. No confession exists. No email proves intent. The destruction looks like ordinary workplace dynamics, but the target knows, and by the time they know for certain, the damage is already complete. Examine a specific real-world pattern in competitive environments. A jealous person will often recommend the target for a stretch assignment, a project slightly beyond the target's current resources or authority. The recommendation appears supportive. The target feels seen and trusted. But the jealous person has already calculated the high probability of failure. They know the target lacks one critical approval or one budget item. They do not warn the target about this gap. They let the target discover it halfway through the project when failure becomes expensive and visible. The target struggles, works nights, and still comes up short. Leadership sees the failure. The jealous person expresses sympathy while noting privately that they seemed overwhelmed. The target never realizes the assignment was designed to fail because the missing piece was never mentioned. This tactic works because of a cognitive bias called the planning fallacy, the tendency to underestimate the time, resources, and risks involved in complex tasks. The jealous person counts on this. They do not need to sabotage the work directly. They only need to ensure the target enters a situation where normal human optimism will produce a gap between expectations and reality. The target blames themselves for not preparing better. Leadership blames the target for poor execution. The jealous person, who knew about the missing piece the entire time, faces no scrutiny because they never touched the project directly. Another layer involves timing. Jealous people learn to deliver their subtle attacks at moments of transition, when a new manager arrives, when the team restructures, when the target returns from vacation. The brain processes transition periods with lower cognitive resources. Attention splits between learning new systems and maintaining old ones. In these moments, an ambiguous insinuation lands with less resistance. A casual comment about the target's difficult transition back shapes a new manager's impression before the target even meets them. A question about whether the target really understands the new process plants a seed that grows into ongoing scrutiny. The jealous person strikes when defenses are down, not when they are up. The target never sees the attack because it happened before they entered the room. The most advanced jealous individuals use something called social proof reversal. Normally, social proof means people follow the behavior of others. In reversal, the jealous person identifies one respected person in the group, not the leader, but someone whose opinion carries weight. They share a small, reasonable concern about the target with this one person. The concern sounds fair, even helpful. The respected person agrees. The jealous person does nothing else. That respected person now carries the concern into other conversations, believing it originated from their own observation. The doubt spreads organically, person to person, each person believing they noticed independently. The jealous person never appears in the chain of transmission. The group turns against the target collectively, with no villain to point to and no moment to trace back. This mirrors how status degradation rituals function in primate troops. A lower status individual challenges a higher status individual not through direct fighting, but through grooming allies, creating coalitions, and slowly shifting group opinion. The target loses grooming partners first, then loses preferred resting spots, then loses mating opportunities. Human jealousy follows the same pattern. The target loses lunch invitations first, then loses access to informal decision-making conversations, then loses career opportunities. The jealous person never throws a punch. They simply change who sits next to whom and who talks to whom about what. The target falls because the group quietly moved away, not because anyone pushed. The target's best defense would be recognizing the pattern early, noticing the first omission, the first ambiguous question, the first redirected compliment. But the human brain resists recognizing social threats from within the group. Trusted colleagues cannot be enemies. Friendly faces cannot be sabotaging. By the time the target accepts reality, the jealous person has already built a structure of exclusion that takes months to dismantle. Most targets never dismantle it. They leave, they transfer, they quiet quit. And the jealous person, having successfully removed a threat without leaving evidence, turns toward the next target who dares to succeed. The ultimate truth about quiet destruction is this: jealous people do not want to become you. They want to erase your value so their mediocrity stops looking like failure. Your promotion exposed their stagnation. Your skill highlighted their weakness. Your recognition proved their invisibility. They cannot improve themselves, so they must reduce you. And because direct attack risks exposure, they learn to destroy through subtraction, removing information, removing credit, removing connection, removing confidence. Each removal feels too small to name, but add them together, and nothing remains. The jealous person wins not by building themselves up, but by making sure no one remembers what you used to be.